The Houston Texans are starting to look like a team nobody in the AFC is going to enjoy facing. And the scary part is, we still have not seen the full version of them yet. Forget the preseason record for a second, because CJ Stroud finally stepped back onto the field against Las Vegas, and the offense immediately felt different. Houston opened with a 10-play drive that covered 69 yards, and Stroud looked calm, sharp, and in control from the first snap. Then Woody Marks finished it with a 20-yard touchdown that gave everyone a quick look at what this new backfield might become. Add David Montgomery into that mix, and suddenly Houston is not asking Stroud to do everything himself. That matters, because this offense is being built to make life easier for its quarterback, not harder. And then the defense started making noise. Houston rested several major names, but the pressure never disappeared. Wade Woodaz jumped a throw and took it back 80 yards for a touchdown. Caden McDonald got into the backfield. Jadeveon Clowney was already creating problems in limited work. Think about what that means for a team that finished last season with one of the strongest defenses in football. Will Anderson Jr., Danielle Hunter, Derek Stingley Jr., Kamari Lassiter, and Kalen Bullock were already enough to make offenses uncomfortable. Now Houston is finding more depth behind them, and that is where this starts getting serious. The defense did not need saving. It needed support. It looks like it got it. But the biggest change might still be hiding on the other side of the ball. Nick Caserio did not spend this offseason making small fixes. He changed the offensive line, added Wyatt Teller, brought in Braden Smith, traded for David Montgomery, and used a first-round pick on rookie Keelan Rutledge. At the same time, Houston is already dealing with the loss of Jaden Higgins, which puts even more pressure on this new setup to work fast. So the real question is not whether Houston has talent. They clearly do. The question is why a team that won 12 games last season felt the need to change this much in the first place. And once you look back at how that season actually played out, the answer becomes impossible to ignore. Houston did not stumble into 12 wins. It survived a start that could have broken the season. The Texans opened 0-3, then changed the direction of everything, winning 12 of their final 14 regular season games. That finish showed how strong this roster was. It also created one painful question. What happens if Houston does not spend September trying to find itself again? The answer matters because one game separated Houston from Jacksonville in the AFC South. The Jaguars finished 13-4, while the Texans finished 12-5. Houston still reached January, then walked into Pittsburgh and won 30-6, the first road playoff victory in franchise history. CJ Stroud threw for 250 yards that night, while the defense turned a close game into a statement. Then New England ended the run 28-16. That loss did not erase the progress. It exposed how small the margin becomes against top teams in January. Houston had already proved it could win with defense, toughness, and late-season momentum. What it had not proved was whether the offense could control a game when everything tightened. That is why the offseason became so important. The biggest clue sits in one number Houston could not ignore. ESPN ranked the Texans 30th in pass block win rate and 32nd in run block win rate last season. DeMeco Ryans believed the group improved, and the sack total did drop, but Houston still struggled to create space when the offense needed 1 yard. That shaped every decision. Now the most interesting battle is inside. Rookie Keelan Rutledge came from Georgia Tech as a powerful guard, yet Houston has pushed him into center work, where every protection call matters. Evan Brown has taken first-team snaps, while veteran Wyatt Teller has worked with the second group recently. Nothing is settled, and that makes August more important than the depth chart suggests. This is not about finding 5 famous names. It is about finding 5 players who move together before CJ Stroud reaches the toughest part of the schedule. Houston allowed only 23 sacks on Stroud last season, a huge drop from the year before, so there is progress worth protecting. But if the new interior can also create movement in the run game, this offense gains something it rarely had: control. And that leads directly to the backfield. Houston's running game is where the new plan can become real. Woody Marks carried the offense last season and finished with 703 rushing yards, team best. That production came while Houston averaged only 3.9 yards per carry as a group. Marks gave them life, but the offense still needed a runner who could punish defenses when everyone knew the ball was coming. That is where David Montgomery changes the room. Houston brought him over from Detroit after moving on from Joe Mixon, giving Nick Caley a proven downhill option built to finish difficult carries. The goal is not to replace Marks. It is to make the defense choose. Marks can attack space, Montgomery can attack contact, and that combination can keep CJ Stroud away from obvious passing downs. This matters most in the moments Houston could not steal last year. The Texans converted only 11 of 19 fourth downs, and every failed play gave an opponent another opening. A stronger run threat changes play action, clock control, red zone calls, and how aggressively defenses rush Stroud. Houston can build that balance because the other side gives it room to breathe. Somehow, that defense found more help. Houston's defense was already carrying championship-level weight before the new faces arrived. The Texans allowed only 4,713 yards last season, the fewest total yards in the league. Danielle Hunter finished with 15 sacks, Will Anderson Jr. added 12, and the secondary kept creating chances for the offense. There was no need for a rescue here. What Houston did instead was deepen the pressure. Reed Blankenship joined the safety room. Logan Hall added depth to the front. Then Jadeveon Clowney returned to the franchise that drafted him first overall. None of those moves asks one player to become the entire defense. That is the point. Derek Stingley Jr., Kamari Lassiter, Kalen Bullock, Jalen Pitre, and Azeez Al-Shaair give DeMeco Ryans proven pieces at every level. The hidden advantage is what happens when starters leave the field. Houston wants waves, not just stars. If the second group can keep the same speed and pressure, opponents never get an easy stretch to recover. That is where young defenders become important, because preseason has shown Houston may have found more than depth. Several rookie players are forcing their way into this story, and one changed a game instantly. The draft class is where Houston's depth starts getting interesting. Second-round rookie Caden McDonald brings real size to the middle of the defensive front, while fourth-round rookie Wade Woodaz arrived after playing both safety and linebacker roles at Clemson. They were not drafted to carry the defense immediately. They were drafted to make a strong unit harder to wear down. Woodaz has already delivered the loudest preseason moment, reading a throw against Las Vegas and returning the interception 80 yards for a touchdown. McDonald added a sack in that game. Fifth-round rookie Kamari Ramsey made his own play against the Chargers, intercepting Trey Lance and returning it 40 yards. Those flashes matter because DeMeco Ryans can develop them without forcing them into huge roles before they are ready. Offense has its own sleeper. Second-round rookie tight end Marlon Klein produced a 31-yard catch against Los Angeles, showing the size and movement that made Houston interested in him. Lewis Bond, Febechi Nwaiwu, and Aiden Fisher are also part of this class, each fighting for a place. But one young player Houston expected to feature heavily is suddenly unavailable, and that changes the receiver room completely. The hardest turn of Houston's summer came before the game started counting. Jaden Higgins tore his ACL during a joint practice with Las Vegas and is expected to miss the season. Higgins was not unknown anymore. As a first-year player in 2025, he caught 41 passes for 525 yards and scored 6 touchdowns, giving Houston another target beside Nico Collins. Now the opportunity spreads across the room. Xavier Hutchinson can take a larger outside role. Jalen Noel gives Houston another option. Justin Watson brings experience, while Tank Dell continues working toward his return. Jared Wayne is pushing for a roster place, but he is not a rookie, a detail that matters when judging where his development stands. Nobody needs to copy Higgins. Houston needs several players to cover different parts of what he provided. There is another layer behind CJ Stroud. Graham Mertz suffered a torn ACL in the Chargers game, leaving Davis Mills as the established backup, with Brett Rypien added afterward. That makes health around Stroud more valuable. Houston still has weapons, but the receiver question is real, and solving it becomes easier when your secondary can change games by itself. Houston's final advantage might be the part opponents cannot scheme away. Kamari Lassiter made his first Pro Bowl after a season of tight coverage and big plays. Derek Stingley Jr. is already paid like a cornerstone, and Kalen Bullock keeps growing beside them. That gives Houston something every contender wants: young defensive backs who can survive without constant help. The picture is simple. Houston does not need CJ Stroud to save every Sunday. It needs the offense to stay balanced, protect the football, and turn drives into points. If the interior line settles, the running game becomes more dependable. If the receiver room adjusts after losing Jaden Higgins, Stroud still has enough talent to attack. Meanwhile, DeMeco Ryans can keep leaning on a defense built to pressure quarterbacks and close tight games. That is why this team feels different from a normal preseason sleeper. The Texans know they can win 12 games and win on the road in January. The next step is not wild. It is fixing the few areas that kept a good season from becoming something bigger. Houston opens against Buffalo, and that test will reveal plenty. If those answers arrive quickly, the AFC may have serious problems.